Customer complaints is not something that we want to deal with or receive in our businesses. But how you deal with your customer complaints is the difference between retaining them for a long relationship or losing them to your competitors. And now more than ever, with this tough market conditions that we're facing, we really need to stand out, and we need to face these issues and try to resolve them. So recently we've been helping a young couple, and this is just one of many that come to us when they have a situation with the builder that they just cannot resolve themselves. So they had purchased a new build villa, and they were having it, the actual build was complete, and they were having some issues with the quality of the property. Certain things that hadn't been done properly and had been missed. And they had had the snagging list, the builder had had the snagging list for quite a long time, but had failed to resolve any of it. The customer kept on asking, please can you come and can you fix these items? We're okay with having a few items, it's normal, but can you come and fix it? Unfortunately, this time period extended and extended with them, and they kept writing to the builder and he just ignored the emails. So they wrote more emails, and obviously you know what happens with that, it goes in full circle. Eventually they did get in touch with the builder, and the answer that they had from him was, I mean, what am I supposed to do? These subcontractors aren't very good, so you know, it's not my fault. I hear this commonly, I really hear this commonly when I'm working with construction teams and in construction environments, that often we answer with, oh, it's not my fault, it's the subcontractor. But we need to start as an industry taking more responsibility. We are the ones who are in control of that package of work. We hire those subcontractors. We give them the scope of work. We evaluate them, or do we? And therefore we need to start taking more responsibility for our actions and actually saying, okay, we've got a problem here. How is it resolved? And how can we take the lesson from this customer complaint forward so that we make sure that this doesn't happen again and that we have stricter controls in place? So one of the methods that you can have in your organisation is your annual management review meeting. This is where you can evaluate all your customer complaints that you've had over the year. You can analyse what are the recurring themes that keep coming up that we need to deal with. How can we improve things to make sure that we don't have these same issues? Is it one particular entity that's causing us these issues? So how are we evaluating that? Are we monitoring our subcontractors? Do we look at their past history and take a view that, okay, we're not going to use them for any more projects because they've let us down so many times? What steps are we doing? So one of the most important mechanisms that you can put in place as an organisation so that you don't speak to your customer and tell them, oh, it's not my fault, it's somebody else's, it's a subcontractor, is you can have a subcontractor selection process. This is a process where you're going to evaluate each of your suppliers or subcontractors that you're going to use. You have a set criteria of what you're going to look for. So this might be the quality. You may look at the health and safety. Usually with health and safety, if you do a visit to somebody's factory, so if they're making a product for you, when you go to the factory and you see the health and safety in the factory, this usually gives you a really good gauge to what kind of levels of health and safety and quality that you're going to get in with your products and services. So I've been to many organisations where it looked really great on paper, and then when I visited the factory, no one had any health and safety inductions, nobody were even aware of health and safety. We had people in flip-flops walking around, lifting heavy objects. There was just no quality. I could see all the defective works piled up in the corner. So really you can gauge a lot from the factory, and you can see how they're going to operate when they're either on your site or they're making products for your company. So this is a good way to look also. So it's not just looking about cost. Many organisations selecting subcontractors on just the price, and this just isn't enough. You need to have a look at the health and safety, the quality, their financial position. You can even look at references and see other projects that they've completed. You could even ask them, please show me evaluation of your latest customer complaints, and they may say we don't get any. And this is very unrealistic. So one of the mechanisms you can have in place is a questionnaire, a pre-qualification questionnaire that all of your suppliers and subcontractors have to fill in. And you decide what that criteria is going to be and how you're going to measure them. When they start work with you, you need to then continuously evaluate their performance and have a look at the projects each time and the customer complaints. Should you be using those subcontractors again? Just because they're the lowest price, it doesn't mean to say that you should continue to use them, because they're actually costing you more money when you look at it, when you're having to resolve the customer complaints, when you're taking all of this time to get them to come back and actually fix the issues that have been caused. When you add all of these things up, once you start looking at the figures, you realise they're actually costing your organisation its reputation, money in reworks, time, and delaying your programme. So this really, it doesn't make any sense at all. So we really need to take control of our selection process and make sure that you have a supplier selection process in place so that you don't have to deal with using these same excuses to your customers. Oh, sorry, it's not my fault. They're just really bad, you know. What happens is a small issue starts escalating into a gigantic, huge problem. And by this point, the customer, it's very, very difficult to deal with them when they're shouting or like sending emails to you and constantly on the phone to you, trying to want answers and trying to get things resolved. So we really, really need to take responsibility for our customers and put some mechanisms in place and actually ask our customers, because they're the greatest source of information. Ask them at the end of the contract, how did you find the service? Was there something that you weren't happy with? Was there something that we can do better? And use this information to positively and proactively put mechanisms in place to make sure that you're giving the best customer service to your customers and you're standing out amongst your competitors.